In this part one of improvising over Fly Me to the Moon, I want to talk about the scales that you could use over certain chords. And this is mainly going to be aimed at the beginner improviser or early intermediate. Those who are still having trouble just improvising through an entire tune. Now, we're not going to go super in depth into complicated scales or anything like that, nothing complex. We're going to go through the bare minimum you need to know in order to just get through the whole tune. Because that's the most important thing, is that you can improvise a solo throughout the entire tune, then you gather up many of those tunes that you can improvise through, and then you add more complex ideas as you continue practicing and growing. So don't try to learn all the scales at once, you're going to overload yourself. So let's jump right in. So to keep things simple and to make sure you're not overloaded, every time we come across a diatonic chord, we are just going to play the home scale, okay? So since we're in the key of C major / A minor, however you want to look at it, you would just play that C major scale. So if you look over here, so the first 4 chords, let me use green. So these first 4 chords here, we have A minor through C major 7. Those are all going to be in the key. So that means you could just use the C scale, all right? Sorry, just all the white notes, right? However you want. Okay, now the problem arises when we run into chords that are not in the key. So the C7 is that first chord that's not in the key. It has a B flat in it. So how do we handle this? Well, we need to see where it's going. A good thing for us, and Fly Me to the Moon, all the dominant chords resolve normally like they should, meaning they resolve down a fifth. Now, what we need to investigate is whether it resolves to a minor chord or a major chord. So let me pull out some different colors here. Let me get my blue. So if you have a dominant chord that resolves to major, like C7 resolving to F major, I'm just going to circle that in blue. Okay. Now, if a dominant chord resolves to minor, I'm going to circle that in red. So we have this E7 here. See that? That resolves to A minor. Now we have A7 here that resolves to D minor. Then we have A7 over here that resolves to D minor as well. And then finally we have E7, which resolves A minor. We're just going to look at these first 4 bars because it basically just repeats after that. So everything else, you could just use the C scale. Yay! So we just got to figure out what we need to do over these 3 different chords, the C7, the E7, and the A7. So the C7 is going to be the easiest one, because when you have a dominant chord that resolves to a major chord, like just a major 5-1, you could just use the home scale of that 1, right? The scale of the 1. Just like how we did over the G7, that's in the key, right? There's G7 right here. We could just use the C scale there. So over this C7, since it resolves to F major, we could just use the F major scale, right? Those notes. And that's going to work out just fine. So that's going to be an easy one. Now, when we get to E7, we're resolving to A minor. Our options are going to open up a little bit. And that's because there's more than one minor scale. There's 3, right? Whereas there's only 1 major scale, not including the major modes or the major leaning modes. Anyways, so we have natural minor, harmonic minor, and melodic minor. So when you're going from this E7, we want to think about all the minor scales of A, right? So once again, natural minor, harmonic minor, melodic minor. Let's go ahead and get rid of natural minor. It's not going to be a strong choice because it doesn't have the leading tone or the major 7th. Because that major 7th is the 3rd of the E7 chord. And that's one of the essential tones, meaning it establishes the sound of that chord. It's really important, so we want that note. So then that leaves us with the harmonic minor and melodic minor, okay? Let's see what those sound like over E7. So here's a harmonic minor. But let's start it on E. All right, and then melodic minor. They're both gonna work just fine, okay? So those are your two options to start off with. And you could even mix and match them. You could play both of them, okay? So you could play like a, all right? So that's melodic minor. All right, so you could go back and forth, that kind of thing. It's also worth mentioning that chord scale theory by itself is often not very strong on its own, right? That's redundant. I just said by itself on its own. You want to pair it with target notes, right? So you want to have a good idea of your chord tones too, like your root notes, your third, your fifth, your seventh. Outlining those notes is what's going to give you a strong sound rather than just playing the scale. Because if you just play the scale, things aren't going to land in the right place. It's not going to have much direction, okay? So if I focus on, let's say, outlining the third, right? I'm also landing on a third of A minor. Yeah. I just landed on the fifth, okay? But this is not a video about chord tones and targeting, but you should keep that in mind. So that's really it. Those are your two options for your dominant chords that resolve to minor. So then after that E7, we get to A minor. Let me get let's just leave it. We get back to A minor. And after the A minor, we have this A7 going to D minor. It's the same thing. We can use the minor scales of D minor, specifically the harmonic and the melodic. So over A7, let's play D harmonic minor. Then let's start it on A. How does that sound when it resolves? Beautiful. And then D melodic minor. Right? Either of them work, but once again, you could kind of combine both of them, right? Okay. Now, after that, we just get the same two dominant chords again, the A7, and then we get E7. So that kind of takes care of this whole tune. You should be able to get through the whole tune now. But again, targeting and actually making those scales sound good, that's a different story. But at least now you know the note choices. I want to leave you with a bonus scale, okay? This is probably my favorite scale. I don't think there's a name for this. There might be, actually. It's if you take the harmonic minor, right? Let's look at it from D harmonic minor. And you also add a flat 7 to that. So that means over the A7, you actually have a minor third and a major third. And what that does, it kind of lightens the blow of this minor second interval. Gives us kind of like this Egyptian sound, right? The snake charmer. But if you add in that minor third, oops. Really cool sound. I think that's known as like one of the bebop scales, right? Like the bebop harmonic minor scale or something. Basically a bebop scale. There's many of them. I don't believe in the whole bebop scale thing, but if you come across it, a bebop scale is when you take any 7-note scale and you add a note, an 8th note in between two of the notes, right? So that's all we're doing there. We're just adding in this flat 7. Okay, so let's run through this real quick. I'm just going to do some really simple soloing, and I'll kind of talk about it as I go. So starting right in this A minor, right? And then now switch to F scale, okay? Back to C scale. And now you're on this E7, so remember, you can use a harmonic or a melodic or the secret scale. Okay, let me use the secret scale. Right? You see that? So it's like the A harmonic with that flat 7. Anyways. And now we're on A7, so remember, you can use D harmonic, melodic. Let's do melodic. Wait, oops, wrong scale. There you go, right? And we have this G7. Now we A7. Once again, let's use that melodic again. Right. And now let's use harmonic. All right. So I hope you found that helpful. And I'll see you in part 2, where we'll talk, about more scale choices, how to take this to the next level. So have fun with it.